All right. Here we go. We are officially live, and we will give everybody just a second to come into the stream. Green check marks across the board, and away we go. Here we go, Broncos country. It is a Wednesday night, July 23rd, 2025. We're on the verge of training camp, Thomas Hall. It is here. It's no longer just a long date on the calendar. It's no longer just waiting to get to camp. Camp is here. As the rookies reported last Wednesday, the veterans reported last night or yesterday on Tuesday. Well, everybody's back at camp today at Wednesday, and we got a lot to react to. But before we do, what is up, Broncos country? It's Wednesday night, which means it's time for MHI. I am Luke Patterson. Joined with me, as always, Thomas Hall. Tom, how are we feeling, man? It's been a long wait. We got through the NFL draft. We got through OTAs, minicamp, rookie minicamp. Here we go. Training camp. Is it safe to say the season has officially started? Football is back in the Mile High City.
Yes, it seems that way now. Once training camp starts, I feel like the season's really started. I mean, it obviously there's no games yet, but really only 2 weeks away from the Hall of Fame game, if that. So I mean, we're going to see football here in just a couple weeks, really. So it's started, and it seems like a pretty good atmosphere there at Dove Valley. So I'm excited to see how this training camp progresses. And I think it's going to be a little bit different than what we'd seen when we first got there, when Sean Payton first got there and what we saw the very first training camp. So I think it's going to be a little bit different.
It's completely different. And that's one of the things that Sean talked about today. We're going to get into that. Sean Payton making his thoughts and expectations well known, not only to his team, but to Broncos country and the media. We also got to hear from reigning NFL Defensive Player of the Year, Patrick Surtain, as well as Broncos starting right tackle Mike McGlinchey. We'll get into some of their comments and more. But you're exactly right. It's a new look. It's a new season, and it's a new practice facility down there. What are they? Common Spirit at Denver. They change their name every single year, it feels like, sponsorship-wise, which means sponsors. Hey, remember when there was a time the Denver Broncos couldn't find anybody to name the stadium? Things have changed just a little bit with the Walton Penner ownership group. We'll talk about those expectations. But before we do, let's get into David's expectations. He calls his shot every Wednesday night here at 6 p.m. Mountain on MHI. Good evening, Broncos country. Woo-hoo! 13-4. Man. 13-4, David. I was thinking about you earlier today, David. I was listening to Mike Kliss, 9 News' own in Denver, Colorado, and he was suggesting that an obtainable expectation for what an increase would look like in terms of success in 2025. What does that look like? Kliss put it at 11 wins and a playoff win. Scratch that if you're David. 13-4, that may be a piece of NFL history.
Yeah, that's a great record, and if that happens, there's going to be a lot of happy people in Broncos country, including the team. So that's a great record for 17 game season. So that would be huge, I think, if they won 13.
I can't go there, David. I want to so bad. 11 sounds good to me, right? It's that officially one win, couple wins better than last year if you want to look at it with a playoff win. Remember, 2024, worst roster in all of professional football, right? Under the over-under on 5.5 wins. Everybody's saying take the under. Broncos aren't going to win anything. Well, isn't it funny how things change in a matter of 15 months? Michael Ronquillo never changing in terms of his Broncos support, loyalty, and all of the amazing things he does here at the Mile High Huddle community and every Wednesday night on MHI. Good evening, Thomas and Luke on the Mile High Insiders. What's up, Scott? Go Bo Broncos. Man, the Ronk knows what's up because apparently Bo Nix was the talk. He's the talk of the town here in Denver, Colorado. It starts and ends with the franchise quarterback, and Bo Nix appears to be the real deal. What do I mean by that? Well, we know in 2024 that Broncos rookie quarterback, Bo Nix, led all rookies in passing yards, passing touchdowns, total touchdowns. If you need a reminder, head on over to milehighhuddle.com. Chad Jensen has a really good article getting after some critics of Bo Nix, and we can get into that later as well. But Pat Surtain said Bo Nix is going to make a lot of noise this year. What does that mean to you, Tom? Because game recognized game, and if the reigning defensive player of the year is saying there's something special about this quarterback, I think it's a little bit more than just being a good teammate. There's something there.
Well, obviously he's a hard worker. He's went out and picking the brains, Drew Brees. He spent some time with some of these folks that can make his game better. He's always working hard. So for me, I expect something better than last year, only because he's not going to have as slow a start. He's definitely got, he's spent that time already in the offense. He's got it down. He's going to come out. He's going to get better in training camp instead of just trying to learn in training camp. He's going to actually force himself to get better. So he's going to come out of the gate a lot better, and he's probably going to finish the season strong as well. So I'm looking for a pretty big season from him. I mean, I'm not thinking record-breaking season or anything, but quarterback season that we haven't seen in a very long time in Mile High.
Check it with some friends that we have of this show around the team who are out there today. I got some consistent answers when I asked about Bo Nix. And what do those consistencies look like? Confident, taking charge, owning his place. These are a few things that I'm writing down as I'm texting some buddies in Denver. And that makes me feel good. It's an expectation, but absolutely, I want to see a more confident Bo Nix. I think Bo came in a little nervous last year as the rookie, humble, quiet, started to find his voice. Well, we know he found his voice when he was screaming at Sean Payton in those beautiful, right, Orange Crush throwbacks. So you get a little bit more as you earn it. Just like our guy Ralph Bracegirdle earns it every single week, a diehard member of Broncos country and a huge supporter of MHI and MHH. Luke and Tom, we actually have some real news to talk about. Thank you for getting us sick, twisted freaks through the off season. Man, thank you, Ralph, and hopefully you are doing well out there in God's country. I know Broncos country's fired up. We're excited. We are officially talking football. What do the rookies look like out there? Everybody wants to know, what are the new shiny toys doing out there at Broncos training camp? We will report all summer long. Phil McLaughlin over on Facebook. Man, you guys are starting the show fast and furious. I can't wait to talk Broncos football with all of you. Good evening, Thomas, Luke, and Deacon Scott. Did Sean Payton say anything that shocked you? Also, does Nick Bonitto get $26 million before the season starts? I'll take the first question, Tom, and we'll serve the latter up to you because Nick Bonitto's your boy, and you would give him anything he wants. Sean Payton, did he say anything that shocked me? Yeah, a little bit. I had no idea that the Drew Brees thing happened, if I'm being completely honest, because things are tightly under wraps there at Denver HQ, something that I like. We talk about it on this show all the time. Sean Payton shares Mike Shanahan's level of paranoia, a Bill Belichick level of paranoia. Things are air sealed and tight. I was surprised to hear that Bo spent 4 or 5 days with Drew Brees this offseason, including one Tom House. Now, I would turn to my resident baseball expert, one Scott Kennedy, when talking to Tom House, because it's my interpretation that Tom House, he's an expert when it comes to throwing mechanics, right? He works with all kinds of athletes. I'm sure Bo was a baseball player in his younger days. I'm sure his dad probably had something to do with a little bit of baseball. It's cool to see that you don't have to worry about your franchise quarterback painting his nails, going to Lakers games, getting in the headlines for all the wrong reasons. Bo Nix is working when nobody's looking.
Yeah, absolutely. Nothing really shocked me too much other than what you said there, Luke. But as far as Bonitto, I don't know what he's going to get. It's probably going to be in that neighborhood. I hope it happens before the season. I hope they lock him up for long term. I don't want to say that I know anything. I don't have any sources that says it's going to happen, but I would imagine it's going to happen soon. I don't see a replacement on the team. I don't see why they would spend that much time cultivating him after drafting him high only to just let him walk because you're too cheap. So I don't see that happening. So hopefully it happens before the season starts. If that's about what he's looking for, that's a pretty good rate for him right now, especially after you saw TJ Watt's massive deal. If they could get him for $26 million, I think it's a respectable contract for what he's done so far and what they expect him to do going forward.
I completely agree with you. And, for me too, I'm also looking at like when we have these contracts, it's not a dispute, but I don't want to call it a conflict either. When you have the business of contracts that come up inevitably for any of these guys at any position, no matter where they're at in their contract, I try to look at who's up and coming. So let's say worst case scenario, the Broncos can't figure out a deal with Nick Bonitto. You got to look elsewhere. Who would replace him? Who would supplement him? And I'm not saying that's the plan, but I think with a Q Robinson, right? Edge rusher out of Alabama. He's a guy I talked about last week. I'm excited to see what he can do in special teams as a rookie. I think the Broncos probably want to hold a lot of edge rushers this season. I think that's the plan. Maybe he's the 5th edge rusher on the team. He dresses specifically for special teams, but you got to figure out a way to get ahead of these things. The Broncos have done that. Look at Pat Surtain. Look at the genius that was, George Payton, Sean Payton, the Walton Penner ownership group getting ahead of that. Now Sauce Gardner commands the highest contract, and certainly not peanuts what Pat Surtain's getting, but that's a really good question. Does anything Sean Payton say shock you today? Not necessarily, but, I'm a little taken back, and I'm not quite sure how to handle when Sean talks about expectations, because we in the media, we in Broncos country love to feast on our favorites from last year and forget all the bad, right? So assuming the Broncos are going to get double-digit wins, assuming they're going to go to the playoffs, well, that's a lot to assume in 2025. Anything can happen. Who's the team this year, Tom, that everybody's saying, no way? They don't have a shot. They don't have any idea what they're doing in the front office. They have contract issues. There's a team out there that everybody's sleeping on this year, including me, including you, including anybody watching this, that is going to have to eat some crow here in January and December. Wow, what a dark horse candidate. We didn't see them coming. When Sean Payton comes out and says, last year doesn't matter, we're starting over, it's all anew. That's a little bit, I smirk, and then a little bit like, how do you sell that to the locker room? I think the locker room understands. The Buffalo Bills game was an embarrassment. 31-7? Who wants to be a part of that? Who wants to talk about that and relive that again? I think these guys have bought in to what Sean Payton's saying, or Sean Payton is selling, in the fact that if we get through the dog's days of summer, if we get through my playbook, if I can put you through hell and get you to buy in, there should be lots of days of clubbed up, meaning everybody's bouncing in the locker room. We're having a great time because the Broncos are winning. How does Sean Payton do that, Tom? It seems like a tough task to get a bunch of grown men to say, hey, last year doesn't matter, but these are our expectations for this season. It's a tricky maneuvering on how to motivate these grown men.
Yeah. Well, I think last year matters to everybody in the fact that they changed the atmosphere to a winning club for the first time in a very long time. So the winning that happened last year matters, but what the wins and losses don't matter this year. What they did last year, where they got to in the playoffs, that's all got to be re-achieved, so to speak, again. So I understand where he's coming from, but I don't think he has to get anybody to buy in. I think the team is already bought in, and that starts with him bringing in the right leaders for the team that he's brought in. He was very, very conscious of that, got rid of a lot of those folks that really kind of had that old losing mentality, the old guard, not really bought into the team. Those guys are all gone. There's only a couple remaining holdovers, and they were more leaders of the team. And now he brought in others. So I think that's helped a ton. All these guys that he's brought in, there's leaders amongst them, and the young guys are buying into what they're saying. So I don't know if Sean Payton has to say too much to get them to buy into what he's selling, because he has the right folks in the building that are kind of doing that for him.
That you mentioned the right folks. Does it get any righter than Dre Greenlaw? Right. And I know the fellas last night were talking about it, and there's a cool social media clip of them, the Tuesday night crew, Nick and Carl, right, going back and forth on Dre Greenlaw and Alex Singleton. What does the health of your inside linebacker room look like? You got two guys, presumptive starters, coming in. who were banged up last year, who have been banged up for their career. Can they stay available? What kind of expectations can we have for them? I'd say health needs to be the very first thing. Tone setters. I'm all about Dre. Everybody else forgot about Dre, but not yours truly. That is my guy, and I can't wait. And I hope that we can see some great action. I hope that he has great health, and it's a good fortune. But no, man, you're exactly right. It's a new season. But doesn't it feel like the Broncos took a major step last year? And for me, when I say major, I mean this. It feels to me at first glance, maybe it's the homer. Maybe I'm drinking orange Kool-Aid. I got the orange and blue glasses on. I got the hat on today, so call me a fan. It feels like the Denver Broncos have replaced the Cincinnati Bengals when it comes to the AFC playoff picture for me. What do I mean by that? Well, you've got the Pittsburgh Steelers, the Baltimore Ravens of the world, right? They're usually in the mix when it comes to postseason contention. Why? Because they usually have that head coach, that quarterback thing figured out, and usually it's a lot of the same old coming out. Has it been the case lately in the NFL? I look at what the Bengals are doing. Their culture is shot. They don't know who to pay, how to pay, and when to pay. And it is going to kill Joe Burrow. Joe Burrow, if you are listening, I know we got Bengals fans out there. You got to figure out a way out of Cincinnati. You're not going to do anything. Did we not see what Carson Palmer was like? Did you not see what happened to Andy Dalton? Quarterbacks go there and they can't do anything. They have head coaching issues. I know. Reigning coach of the year, whatever we got to say, all those accolades. But when it comes to culture, the Broncos have put that together, and I think they're light years ahead of an opponent like the Cincinnati Bengals, who beat them in one of the most exciting games all of last year. That's something that we got to talk about, something we got to get fired up for. Ralph coming back in over on Facebook. Appreciate it, Ralph, and I love that Mark stinking good Schlereth jersey. The Chiefs signing their rusher could be a comparable contract for Bonitto, a top 10, not a top 5.
Yeah, it was George Karafalakis or whatever is how you pronounce his name.
I love it.
I don't know.
George anaphylactic shock.
Yeah. I don't remember the deal, but Ralph's right. That's got to be something that they're kind of comparing to. They're not going to. I would hope that Bonitto's camp isn't saying, "Well, look at what TJ Watt got." I hope they're more reasonable in starting from that point. And I don't know. I mean, I think Bonitto's got a good future ahead of him. So I think he may sign a deal that in a couple of years that we're going to look back and go, yeah, that was a great steal to get him for that amount of money.
Yeah, let's talk about it. What'd you think of the TJ Watt deal? I'm surprised, and I don't know if we want to do like a hot take Wednesday with the Steelers right now, or whatever we want to call that. But part of me says either this is genius or this is the end of Mike Tomlin with the Steelers. I know he's not in charge of the contract per se. They've got a rich history of paying and rewarding their players, but good Lord, things are odd in Pittsburgh to me right now, Tom. I don't know if they were paying for past or future performance from one TJ Watt. What'd you make of that contract? We talked about Sauce Gardner resetting the market last week. What do you think of the edge? Because I got to be honest, Tom, I think you're wrong. I think Nick Bonitto's camp is absolutely saying, hey, what if Nick Bonitto's the next TJ Watt? Remember, it took TJ a couple of years to come into his own. Remember, he needed to get into the weight room, Tom. He wasn't as chiseled as Big Bro when he came into the league. I don't know, man. Playing devil's advocate, if you're Nick Bonitto, why not try to get all you can get? Because as you know, Tom, just because you set the market at your position, that doesn't mean you're the best player. A team may have overpaid.
Yeah, and the difference, too, that I think between Sauce Gardner getting paid and TJ Watt getting paid as much as they did, Sauce Gardner's still young. He's got a lot of time left to play out that contract. TJ Watt is a lot older. I was surprised that they gave him that much and guaranteed that much for someone that, you know, he's not old, but he's definitely not a youthful player anymore. So it's kind of strange that they did it. But I can also understand that they want to keep he's their best defender happy. Now, looking back at Bonitto, absolutely, they're going to use that as a leveraging tool. But hopefully what I hope they're more realistic in the fact that they're not going to command that. They're going to use it as a tool, but it's going to be, significantly less than that based on what he's done in the last 3 years of his playing days.
Perhaps you're onto something there when it comes to the contracts and being reasonable, right? And maybe players and agents need to know you better come to George, aka Sean, with a reasonable plan and reasonable numbers. The reason I bring that up is I think there's a lot of validity into what you're saying because, again, checked in with Cliss today over on his social media, looking at reading some of his articles. And one thing he mentioned right away is that, hey, everybody, Courtland Sutton's here. Even though his contract isn't what he wants it to be, even though there are a lot of unknowns when it comes to both the short and long-term future of Courtland Sutton, Courtland's here. And Cliss said over and over, Courtland doesn't want to be a distraction. He wants to be part of what Denver's doing. He doesn't want to be a disruption. And I thought that was very interesting because that hasn't always worked that way for Courtland, right? I know I say it feels like we're here every summer, year after year. It feels like 10 summers in a row now. It's not, being a little over dramatic, but I'm tired of kicking the can down the road with Courtland. I guess something's changed a little bit in the fact now where if you want to be a part of this football team, and I think Courtland does, then you have to be willing to bend, just like the team has to be willing to bend a little bit. It has to be that perfect marriage. Sean talked a lot about marriage today, right? Bo Nix, the quarterback and the head coach. How's that going to work? I think when it comes to finding out what you're going to do with your wide receiver one and Courtland Sutton, that's going to be interesting to see if this is done quickly, this contract, if it drags out. How does attitude change? How do feelings change? What happens if another wide receiver goes down? Knock on wood. We've seen it, right? Why do I bring it up? Not to put bad juju on the team, but we've seen it, Tom. You and I have seen it twice with Tim Patrick. Okay. So things happen in training camp. You see it all the time. Guys get hurt. It changes the trajectory of the team. It also changes the priority of the team. What do you think of Courtland Sutton and the Denver Broncos right now today? I think it's good that Courtland's there, right? I've gotten on him in years past for not being there, specifically last summer when Bo was a rookie, but obviously the two were able to find a lot of success last season. What are your expectations for one, Bo Nix and Courtland Sutton? How do you think the Broncos should be looking at Courtland's contract?
Well, first of all, there are some reports out there that he's got like this quasi hold in where he, is there and he's participating, but he's not doing all of the work. So I don't know how much to buy into that or not. We'll see as it goes along. That can be a distraction. But here's the thing with Courtland Sutton, from my perspective. A good player, not a great player. They gave him the money that he wanted last year. He needs to go out and show that he can be the number one guy, go out there and play the season after getting that bump in pay, and then see where it goes from my perspective, because he's not the type of player. I mean, I like him a lot, but he's not the difference maker. And on top of it, they just spent a third-round pick on somebody who is very similar to Courtland Sutton, preparing for the future. So I think the Broncos are going to take their time with it and see how it goes. They're not going to rush to throw the money at Courtland Sutton and see how Pat Bryant really steps up. What's he look like? Does Troy Franklin actually take that next step like people are projecting? Is he going to be good enough? I mean, they've got a lot of questions to answer over the next, several weeks going into the season that they don't want to. I don't think they want to pay Courtland Sutton right away. I could be wrong in this, but I don't think they want to. They want to see how this is going first. If Pat Bryant is what people are claiming him to be, and I still I have reservations. I got to see him on the playing field. But if he comes out and he's balling out and he looks like the future, I don't think they pay Courtland Sutton. That's been my stance for several weeks. So everything
comes full circle, Tom, and you may be right. And we've talked about this before too. I mean, remember when Courtland came in and eventually he replaced who? Demaryius Thomas, right? The late, great Demaryius Thomas, forever in our hearts. It's interesting when you become that dog and they're trying to figure out how to replace you. That's exactly right. One name you didn't name that I saw you named earlier on X, giving yourself victory laps because I wouldn't do it. Devon Bailey, right? You said keep an eye on Devon Bailey last summer. Well, hey, man, what about Devon Bailey? And you mentioned Troy Franklin. Like, I'm wondering, okay, Bo Nix is spending time with Drew Brees. We know that Bo Nix organized passing camps. What does it look like with Bo Nix and Troy Franklin? Does Bo like Peyton? Is he constantly quizzing his best buddy, his old college roommate? Is he getting after the wide receivers a little bit? What does that relationship look like? We're going to know this summer. We're going to get hints at it at least. We're going to be able to figure out a little bit more the personality of one Bo Nix. We're going to learn what makes Bo tick. We know a lot of Sean Payton. Why? Because he's been around the league forever. We know his personality, and we know what he likes, what he doesn't like. And if you don't know, Coach will tell you. I can't wait for more Sean Payton moments this year too, because we got to get a cut up or something of Sean Payton's angry moments last year. I love it. I love it when Coach is pissed. He gets after people. He says some funny stuff, usually out of pocket, but I love it. DeAndre Weatherspoon, what's up, man? Friend of the show. How did the first practice go? Do we want to call it a practice, Tom, Scott, Broncos country?
They're calling it an acclimation period.
Yeah, it was more like an acclimation day. So what does that mean? Well, it was about 1 hour in length today. I would say a lot of light work, getting guys acclimated, right? Ready to training camp. It was a warm day out there. It gets hot. There's construction. It looks new. We know that the first open practice is this Friday, July 25th. So Broncos country, you don't have to wait long to get a look at your Denver Broncos. It looks so odd out there, Tom, right? When I haven't been out there, but looking at the videos, seeing the construction, the Walton Penner ownership group is definitely improving that fan experience for future training camps. And I'm really excited to see what that brings. But yeah, acclimation day, Mike McGlinchey talked about it. Like, he's like, guys, we haven't even had our first day of practice yet. Calm down. But I think the expectations are there. Running back, that is something that Broncos country wants to know. What's going to happen? And I think it's fairly interesting when you listen to some of the mouthpieces of the team, if you will, and how they're viewing it. And I wanted to get your take on this, Tom. There are reports out there. There are quotes, videos, writings, articles, whatever we got to say, that it's between J.K. Dobbins and R.J. Harvey. Shocker, right? Splitting reps between the starting running backs. 1A and 1B is how some folks are describing it. And then you've got Jaleel McLaughlin and Audric Estime battling for the number 3 spot. Some in the media think that 4 running backs make it, but only 3 are active. Who's the odd man out? Jaleel McLaughlin or Audric Estime? It's a hard question, Tom, because it seems like Sean changes his mind so much without any rhyme or reason at the running back position. Who's on the outside looking in as it fits day one, acclimation day today? Jaleel McLaughlin or Audric Estime?
I still say Audric Estime for a couple of reasons. One, Jaleel McLaughlin brings something different than Harvey and Dobbins. So if you want to change a pace, he's your guy. On top of it, he's also, from what I understand, going to try doing some kickoff returns, things like that. So if he can actually make himself more valuable, now you don't want to pull Mims off punt returns. You don't want to pull him off kick returns if you don't have to. But if you do need someone else back there, he could be that guy. I don't see Audric Estime, doing the returns. He may be able to provide something as far as coverage, on special teams. But I see McLaughlin's got the edge just because he's that change of pace type of guy where Estime really doesn't bring much of anything to the table, different than what Dobbins can do or Harvey can do. That's from my perspective. But they drafted him. So, part of the, when you draft somebody, you kind of want to give them that extra chance. But being a healthy scratch in the playoffs kind of sealed the deal for me. I don't think they really have that much invested in him at this point.
Not sure why he was in the doghouse, but Audric Estime was there, and he was very underwhelming towards that end of the season when they needed him most. And I know that's a combination of a few things, right? The play calling from Sean Payton, the performance of the offensive line, and just the lack of any sort of cohesion when it comes to committing to a running game, not only as a football team, but as an offense specifically. It's tough when you look at these guys for me. And the first thing I do is I look at profile. What do I mean by profile? Not where you came from, not how fast you win the 40. How about something as simple as body type? J.K. Dobbins, R.J. Harvey, Audric Estime, you could all say that they have about the same body type, except Quadzilla. I know he's on another planet with those things. But Jaleel McLaughlin, right? He doesn't fit that mold with those 3. He's shifty. flashy. He's dashy. He's lighter on his feet. He's a guy that I don't want and you don't want, Tom, running between the tackles all the time. You want to change the pace like you mentioned earlier? Great. Sign me up. But I think maybe Jaleel McLaughlin, you use him with some motion rolls, right? I couldn't stand seeing Javonte Williams motion from the backfield out to a receiver position. I didn't understand it. It made no sense with what Javonte brings to an offense. It made no sense with what Sean was attempting to do at my first eye glance. It just didn't work because Javonte wasn't that type of playmaker. Couldn't really catch that well either. Maybe you do something with Jaleel a little bit where you get him a little bit more in a flex role and a slot role, jet sweeps, those sorts of things. So automatically to me, I think Audric Estime is on the outside looking in. It's going to be interesting, though, because, again, with injuries and everything else, J.K. Dobbins, remember, J.K. Dobbins was only signed, on the last day or two of minicamp? So Broncos country hasn't really seen J.K. Dobbins, and the media hasn't really seen J.K. Dobbins and if he can move and how Sean wants to use him. I do think it's interesting, though, 1A and 1B. Reportedly, J.K. Dobbins and R.J. Harvey. That's the competition to watch on Sean Payton's offense.
Yeah, and they'll be 1A and 1B. They'll have them on the depth chart as probably co-starters at best. But again, like I said before, I think they want Harvey to carry the load, and they want to keep Dobbins as fresh as possible to keep him from hitting that injury bug again. So, yeah, they may be co-starters or whatever, but you're going to see Harvey carrying more of the load when it comes to grinding it out, and Dobbins coming in being that second guy off the bench to carry a little bit of the load, be the third down back, and hopefully stay healthy enough for the playoffs.
Well, and your guy, Quadzilla, right? We were talking last Wednesday on the show when rookies reported. He didn't report because he was holding out for that rookie contract. Well, it got done, right, a day or two later. So thankfully, some of those contract discussions or conflicts, those have been resolved when it comes to the rookies. But then we're talking about, what do you do with Nick Bonitto? What do you do with Courtland Sutton? And I can see it from Phil here in the chat. Hey, everybody, wait a second. What about Zack Allen? I mean, what are the Broncos' plans with Zack Allen? And the reason I ask, Tom, what is this? Zack Allen's third year in Denver now?
This will be his third year.
Zack has been like a training camp MVP year in and year out ever since he's got here in Denver. I go back and look at my training camp journals, my training camp notes, and big number 99 has a tendency to wreck the offense and what Sean wants to do, even with the backups, the scout team, hell, even when it's 1v1s. What do you do with a Zack Allen? Because this is a guy that Broncos country is really, really humming and buzzing about. He was so monumental in all of the sacks, the franchise record that continued to be reset last year. What kind of contract do you think Zack Allen commands? Obviously, John Franklin Myers probably on the outside looking in when it comes to priorities, but a lot of folks are overlooking Big Cat number 99. They shouldn't do it.
Yeah, even though I'm a big Bonitto fan, I still think Zack Allen deserves that first contract. I think he should be extended before anybody else, see where that takes him. I mean, I don't know if they're going to give him, top dollar for defensive tackles, defensive ends, those defensive linemen, but I think that's probably what they're looking for based on, how he played last year. I know that there's not huge sack numbers, but huge pressure numbers. He played so much. He had a relentless motor. And he's still in his prime. Like this is the prime for these defensive linemen. His age right now, he's probably got a couple good, really good prime years left before you really start to see him decline. So it's worth taking a shot and giving him an extension. Keep him in the fold for a few more years. He's priority number one, and then for me it's Bonitto, and then it's a wait and see on Sutton and Jonathan Franklin Myers.
Yeah, man, it's a lot. It's a lot to get done, right? It's I felt like we were just in such a good spot, Broncos country, last season, making sure Cooper got done, PS2 got done, Quinn Miners got done. Well, every year, right? It's guys are waiting to get there, so to speak. And always think of Marshawn Lynch, right? And Marshawn, man, say what you want about Marshawn. Some of the best sound bites and quotes of all time. And I always think of Marshawn being like, I know I'm going to get got, but I'm going to get mine before I get got. And I'm thinking, yeah, dude, exactly. We are all just waiting for our number to get punched one day. We got to do the best we can while we're there. Broncos country, we are reacting to the first day of camp, if you will, as the Broncos got acclimated. You had rookies out there, you had vets out there, Denver media today. Fans will officially be able to come on out to their first open practice, ticketed, right? Things are a little bit differently than they used to be years ago, where you could just roll on up to the hill whenever you wanted and sit down and enjoy some practice. It's not so much that case anymore. Things have changed. The times have changed in construction out there. It's just a whole new system. So first open practice, Friday, July 25th. Broncos country is going to be really excited. They have get back together a weekend, alumni events, tons of fun over at Broncos training camp. And how many number 10 jerseys are going to be out there this summer, Tom? I mean, what's going to be the most popular jersey? Is it going to be Pat Surtain's number 2 or Bo Nix's number 10? Let me know in the comment section, and I want Broncos country. Keep track when you are out there, because I know my daughter was like the only one last year to have a Bo Nix or a Broncos jersey at school. Like every single, and I couldn't get it. I know there are a lot of transplants everywhere around the state, but man, when I was going to school, I know Shanahan days, right? The glory days of the Denver Broncos, but you wore your Broncos gear to school. I want to get back to that in 2025, Tom.
Yeah. I'm going to guess it's Bo Nix. I mean, quarterback, everybody saw what he could do. They're all excited. They think he's a franchise quarterback. They're going to be buying that jersey. I know PS2 is, defensive player of the year, but quarterbacks kind of reign supreme. So I'm going to guess that it's number 10 is going to be the most worn jersey out there.
I like it. I like number 12. Nobody rushing to get that number 12 corner. No, against Jade Barron, whatever I got to say. It's just such an ugly number for such a, phenomenal young athlete. I can't stand it. Number 12 quarterback. Ralph Bracegirdle over on Facebook. Man, Ralph, thank you so much, guys. Remember, your support, whether it's on YouTube or Facebook, it does go a long way, and we will always bump you to the front of the line, just like our guy Ralph. Zack Allen is on multiple big contracts. Is he really going to be impatient, or is he going to trust his agent to get it done so he doesn't have to worry about it? Well, Zack Allen's there. I haven't heard any reports about him being like a soft hold in or whatever the terms are these days. Remember, Zack Allen loves playing for Vance Joseph. I think Zack Allen's another one of these guys where he's a locker room guy. He's somebody that the team depends on, specifically Sean Payton, to get his message across. And Zack took a leadership role, a big jump as a leader last year, in my opinion. And you get a Zack Allen with a guy like Dre Greenlaw. I want to see Zack Allen in 2025, because I think Zack Allen, his biggest problem, in my opinion, Zack Allen, you want to know what it is, Tom? I think he's a nice guy. I think Zack Allen is probably a gentleman. You don't hear a bad thing about him. You need your D lineman to have some nasty, and that's the way Zack Allen plays. Curious if Dre Greenlaw and some of these, his new safety, Tufunga, right? Curious if some of their attitude can wear off on number 99. I need him to be a lot meaner, Tom. I need a mean Zack Allen.
I don't need him to be mean. I love his motor. He's a relentless player. That's what I care about. Yeah, you need some nasty on the team, but you only need one or two really the nasty players. But you definitely need someone with a high motor, and that's what Zack Allen brings. Just flat out can play, always given 100%, and for some reason doesn't seem to get that tired. So that's what I'm seeing from him. I don't want him to change. I would like to see him get to the quarterback, a little bit more, turn those pressures into sacks. But other than that, the guy has done everything. He did everything last year that you can possibly ask of him.
Crystal weighing in over on Facebook saying Bo Nix number 10 jersey, of course, all the way. And thinks the Broncos are being underestimated, but that's all right. We like it that way. Yeah, you're right, Crystal. Crystal must have read Chad's article over at milehighhuddle.com. I don't know if you had a chance to check this out, Tom, or if you saw it on social media, but apparently ESPN's own Bomani Jones and Mina Kimes are Bo Nix fans. And it's based on what they saw him do in college 2 years ago at Oregon. It's based on passes behind the line of scrimmage. I think it's based on not being a Sean Payton fan. Did you see any of these comments? It's fine to not necessarily like a quarterback. It's fine to criticize quarterbacks. It's a lot like how I feel about Caleb Williams, right? but I feel like I bring a little bit more meat and potatoes to the table for an evidence-based conversation when it comes to Caleb Williams versus Bo Nix. I know I make fun of the fingernail polish. I know I get after him for some of his antics, but I just don't see it. I think it's a lot of Sean Payton has rubbed people the wrong way, and I think Bo Nix is going to be the result of that.
Well, I did see it, and I actually responded to it, and I actually wrote an article that's coming out as well, an analytical-based article with the facts about it. So here's the thing. Bomani Jones, there's two flaws in his argument. Number one, he is not taking into account anything that happened this year objectively. So he's letting his bias about the draft process and what Nix did in college kind of influence how he's thinking about Nix this year. Well, that's a year old. He's had a full season under his belt. He improved, threw 29 touchdowns, all of that. So that was the first flaw. The second flaw is this passes behind the line of scrimmage thing. Well, guess what? I did all the work on that. I looked at the analysis. Back in the day, in 2006, when they started tracking air yards, there wasn't as much behind the line of scrimmage passes. And you did see offensive coordinators or coaches try and kind of help a limited quarterback by doing that, by giving him those easy passes. But guess what? Patrick Mahomes in 2023 had the same percentage of complete passes behind the line of scrimmage as Nix did this year. In fact, it is the new short passing game because as it has happened from 2006, read the article, it's coming out from 2006 to now, there has been a huge increase in pass completions as a percent of all your completions behind the line of scrimmage for all quarterbacks. It's a big jump, and it's taking away from the 0 to 4. So basically what he's saying is he's using an analytic argument that doesn't even hold water, because the new philosophy now is those really, really high percentage passes with very low risk. You're putting the hands in your playmakers, ball in the playmakers' hands to make something happen. And that's the new philosophy. 25 quarterbacks had 20% or greater completions behind the line of scrimmage compared to 2 in 2006. It's a new change in offensive philosophy. Those were his two things that he had brought to the table, and both of them are wrong. So if you're going to go with Bomani Jones's argument, you're going with two flawed arguments. So that's my take.
I'm curious, just off the top of your head, I know you could pull it up over at gridironintelligence.com, but where's Jalen Hurts fall with that, with some of his passes and one Saquon Barkley, right? You know, like these little things come to mind as you bring this up, and you start thinking about offenses and utilization. And last I checked, it was about getting first downs and then eventually scoring points, either by field goal or touchdown. I don't know. Everybody's definitely entitled to their own opinion. Remember, Tom, you and I weren't the biggest Bo Nix fans coming out of the NFL draft, but we were excited when he came to Denver. We got on board saying, yeah, let's support this young rookie quarterback until he gives us a reason not to. And I didn't see any of those last year. I saw flaws. I saw mistakes. I saw Bo being overwhelmed. Which quarterback has that not happened to in the NFL? Patrick Mahomes has been beat. Patrick Mahomes has lost on the biggest stage, right? He's been overwhelmed. He's made mistakes. So these things happen. To assume that Bo's going to come in and be the perfect quarterback is just ridiculous. Here's a hot take for you. Mina Kimes and Nick Wright are the same people to me. I can't stand either one of them. I think it's a lot of let's have the hottest take. Let's get the most amount of reaction, and that's okay. That's fine for this business, and there needs to be some of that in here, but it's all sizzle, no steak for me. And I just, it depends on who's saying what. All right, then let's look at it. But I think it's a lot of, we don't like Sean Payton, so we don't like Bo Nix. And remember, the Broncos aren't exactly beloved nationally. I think we all know that. Broncos country has a wide base, right? It's what we say here at MHH, our mission statement, not a geographical location, a state of being. Well, that may be true, but good old Raj and the Shield, they're not a fan of Sean and the Denver Broncos. The Hall of Fame voting committee is not a fan of the Broncos. It's not like the whole world has it out for the Broncos, but Sean hasn't done the team any favors when he comes out there, takes victory laps on Nathaniel Hackett last summer, right? Like, so some of these sorts of things that I think are funny that I'm still here for. And I love that Sean doesn't care, right? He'll say whatever he wants and he'll stand by it. When are we going to get another one of those this summer, Tom? I'm just waiting. I mean, you got Coach. He's friendly. It's the beginning of training camp right now. I can't wait till Coach is, bothered. He's sweaty. He's grouchy, and he gets after somebody this training camp for asking too many questions about Nick Bonitto's contract. Too many questions about Courtland Sutton's future. I mean, Sean lets you know.
Yeah, well, I want to go back to something you said earlier, where you and I both were skeptical a little bit of Bo Nix. We didn't know how he was going to be, but the difference between you and I and what a lot of these pundits that didn't like him coming out of college are doing is we changed our mind after we saw him play in the NFL. We didn't keep saying, "Oh, he's terrible," because you can actually do that, and a lot of them haven't. They're still sticking to their draft methodology or whatever they thought. And that's just coming back to bite them. They're looking like fools because there's no tangible evidence that he was terrible last year. He had a pretty decent body of work. Now, was he an elite quarterback? No, but he was a lot better than people expected. So that's their problem. And that's the issue that I have with it is, you can look at facts that can change your mind. You may have an opinion and then something happens and you can always change your mind. So that's the problem I have with it. And the Nick Wrights of the world and stuff, they just, they don't do that. They have their mind made up on something and they stick to it, whether they look like an idiot or not. So, and that's just the way it is. And Sean Payton rubs people the wrong way. He rubs me the wrong way, but I'm still going to give him credit for the coaching job that he did. And if you can't do that, then why are you an analyst? You're not objective. You're just one of these guys that or gals that, really don't bring much to the table other than an argument that ticks people off.
Yeah. And speaking about changing your mind, right? Like one quarterback that I absolutely loved, right? I love Jaden Daniels. I like Jaden Daniels a lot. JJ McCarthy too. But I'm excited to see Bo Nix and Jaden Daniels go head to head this year. November 30th, Broncos at the Washington Commanders. Tom, I know you saw this, by the way. How could I forget? One Von Miller, the newest Washington Commander. Von faced his old team last year with the Buffalo Bills and that brutal beatdown in Buffalo. Gonna be a little bit more interesting this year. Did I see Von's wearing a funky number this year too? Like he's not number 58 out there in Washington. Yeah. I think he's got an odd one. 24, Champ Bailey's old number. Is that right?
I don't think he's gonna wear that number, but that was his post. Kind of an ode to Champ Bailey going to Washington. I don't know what he's wearing, but I would imagine it's 40. I don't know if it's 24, but if he does, that's going to be strange.
Yeah, what they say, like him and Bobby Wagner are like the unks on the team. They're the two old men on the team. And Bobby Wagner, I still think, man, I'm like, yeah, you can still play. I know it's Dan Quinn, right? And trying to poach some of his favorites from back of the day. What do you think that looks like? Does Von Miller get to Bo Nix on November 30th when the Broncos travel to Washington?
I hope not. No, I'm a huge Von Miller fan. He's a Hall of Famer. He was an ex-Bronco, but when the Broncos play him, I hope the Broncos win because I'm a Broncos fan, not a Von Miller fan. I do hope Von Miller has a great season though, just not against the Broncos.
Yeah, it's got to be it for Von, right? Like I'm happy to see Von get signed. How many teams has Von been on? Right, Denver, the Los Angeles Rams, the Buffalo Bills, and now the Washington Commanders. Yeah, that's pretty impressive, right? For a pretty impressive career and playoff contender, a team to watch in the NFC. And it's going to be interesting, right? When the Denver Broncos are playing the NFC East this year. And I think I heard Nick talking about this, our very own Nick Kendall, on one of his shows saying, man, that Philadelphia Eagles game, You want to talk about a test? That will be a test. We all can make fun of Vic Fangio, the spaghetti and meatballs, not having a suit, not owning pants, that kind of a thing, right? You can't make fun of that defense with the Philadelphia Eagles. So I'd be truly missing on something if I bring up the Washington Commanders. Don't dunk on the Cowboys, right? Because I can't stand them. But you look at the Philadelphia Eagles, man, what a formidable opponent. World champs, MVP, Saquon Barkley. Holy cow. What a test for the Denver Broncos. That'll be what a measuring stick, Philadelphia Eagles.
That's what I was going to say. Depending on how they do against the Eagles, you're going to see how far this team's going to go. And, it's going to be a tough one. I'm not expecting a win. Hopefully, I want them to win. But if they don't, I want it to at least not be a game like we saw against the Buffalo Bills or the Baltimore Ravens last year. I want them to go out there and make a game of it at the very least, not be overmatched. Because if they're overmatched, then I think it's another year we got to wait for this team to put something together that's a true contender. But if they can go out there and compete, that's a great measuring stick. They may be able to put the pieces together as they go through the final stretch of the season and make some noise.
I give the Broncos more of an edge if it was here in Denver, but being in Philly, I know it's early in the season, so at least you're getting decent weather, right? October 5th, 1 p.m. game. Man, that seems like a really good game that the league would want to watch, right? Like that should be a national. You got Sean Payton versus the world champs, Bo Nix, Pat Surtain versus Jalen Hurts, and those wide receivers out there in Philly. I mean, talk about a reunion. You're gonna see the Slim Reaper going against PS2, right? Old college chums. And there's so many storylines there when you look at it. Philly is just such a hard place to play, Tom. It's a stadium that I would feel very uncomfortable going into if I was a Broncos fan, right? Because they do things a little bit differently there in city of brotherly love. But I don't know, man. Philly's such a hard place. That GM, Howie's got things going over there. Nick Sirianni's got things going. You got the players in place. Jalen Hurts, right? What kind of game does it look like for Jalen Hurts playing a Denver Broncos defense who's looking to feast on some bird? I mean, a whole nother wrinkle to it. The Broncos defense, can they emulate what the Philadelphia Eagles are doing, not only with their secondary and their coverage, but the pass rush? Can you stay disciplined? Can you stop the run, Vance Joseph? Something maybe Broncos country could be overlooking just a tad when we're talking about the Broncos defense here this summer.
Well, that's the big test for me, is how does that defensive line hold up against the Philadelphia Eagles offensive line? Because that is a tremendous offensive line. Wow. And if they can't hold up against that offensive line, or they do hold up against them, that's going to give you a good gauge of what this defensive line is truly all about. Now, obviously, things can change through the season. People get hurt or whatever. But if they can hold their own against that offensive line, I'm pretty happy with the makeup of this defensive line of the Broncos.
I need the linebackers to be there to help. I need Dre Greenlaw. Yeah. Seriously, I need Dre Greenlaw and Alex Singleton healthy to get Saquon Barkley on the ground. You brought it up, Tom. I can't believe I didn't even think about it, man. The O-line versus the D-line there, man. What a street fight. I mean, holy cow. I think you get 5-on-4 and some a huge amount of violence is happening. I can't wait. You're getting me goosebumps for the Eagles and the Broncos all the way out there October 5th, but we don't have to wait that long, guys. The first open practice is this Friday. These guys are going to be getting into it this summer, just trying to fight and make the team. Let's get into offensive line, Broncos offensive line a little bit. They're pretty set, right? We feel confident in that, in Garrett Bowles and Ben Powers, Luke Wattenberg, Quinn Miners, and Mike McGlinchey. What does this summer, a training camp 2025, look like for Frank Crum? Because I see Frank, the old Wyoming Cowboy, right? I see him all over town with Bo Nix. Bo's taking him to the Nuggets games, taking him to the Avs games. He's there. He's in Bo's inner circle. You can't necessarily take something from a guy's private life and say, look, Bo's friends with Frank, so Frank's going to become the backup tackle, or he's going to eventually replace Garrett Bowles. But you got to be thinking about that if you're the Broncos, right? How many more years is Garrett Bowles going to be your franchise left tackle? Well, Mike McGlinchey has injury history at the tackle position. Is Frank Crum a true swing tackle in your opinion? Or what expectations do you have this summer for Frank Crum?
Well, this is a summer that he has to show that the development's happening. in my mind. If he's still kind of, still that developmental project that they got to hang on to, try and give him another year, I don't think they're going to waste much more time on him. Now, if he actually truly earns that rotational piece, that offensive tackle piece, and he's not just held on to keep someone else from snatching him up, then you've got something there. And I think you got the future, down the road with Frank Crum. But if it's not that, if he just doesn't put it all together, and you'll see the development, through training camp and preseason, if he's put it all together, you'll see it. And if he does that, then that's your future. Whether he's at right tackle or left tackle, I'm not sure, but that's your future. That's why they hung on to him, because he's got all the tools, the physical tools, the size. He's got everything you want in offensive tackle. He was just raw. And if he shows that quick development into his second season, I think you got your future there.
Speaking of the future, the Broncos' first regular season game, correct me if I'm wrong, Tom, September 7th, Tennessee Titans at your Denver Broncos. I'm sure you saw the news, as did the rest of the NFL world. But the Tennessee Titans, Will Levis officially ruled out of the 2025 season due to injury. We all were expecting Cam Ward here in Denver to be the starting cornerback for the Titans. Do you think Sean Payton's already starting to put together a little bit of a game plan, starting to already prepare for the regular season, or is he completely locked in and focused to training camp? And the reason I ask, Tom, is because sometimes I think Coach Sean Payton can't help himself. He can't help but look and turn the page, even when he's got something staring right in front of him. Like, I don't know, run the ball on your play sheet for all of us to see in Los Angeles on Thursday Night Football. You're Sean Payton right now, Tom. How closely are you keeping an eye on the Tennessee Titans for regular season game number 1?
I hope not too much. I hope he's more focused on implementing his game plan for the year. That's what I'm hoping for. That's what he should be doing. Obviously, they'll start to prepare for the Titans, but I don't think it's this early. At least I hope not. There's a lot more other things to do, to implement, to get people on the same page before you really start thinking about a game plan against the Titans. That's my thought. He better be focused more on implementing his game plan for the year, not just a game plan for one team.
I agree with you, and he should know better at this point, right? He's got so many years under his belt in the league. You should know what works, what doesn't work, and you don't even know who's going to be on your roster yet. So it's really tough to put a game plan together when you don't have your 53, you don't have your practice squad set, you don't know who's going to be available, things of that nature. The reason I bring it up is because it's so funny when you turn on social media, right? And you get some of these guys and gals over on X, and my favorite is when they do heartbreaking or heartwarming, and it's some trivial piece of crap that nobody would care about, right? It's not like Bo Nix tipping a waitress $400 or whatever it was, right? It's good. It's not good stuff like that. But I saw this, and it came out, Dove Kleiman, whatever his name is. I got to give him credit, right? Over on X. He goes, ruthless. Titans rookie quarterback Cam Ward was asked how he reacted to the news that Will Levis was being ruled out for the 2025 season. Quote, "I really didn't have a reaction. I focus on Cam Ward." End quote. And Tom, I absolutely love it because I love to get after guys for what they say in the microphone, just like people do with me for what I spit into the microphone. And a couple things real quick. I guess fans are upset with Cam Ward's lack of sympathy. Last I checked, there wasn't a whole lot of sympathy for Will Levis ever, whether he's mixing mayonnaise in his coffee or all his offseason issues, the steroids, a whole bunch of baggage there with Will Levis. But Cam Ward, also going third person, right? I focus on Cam Ward. A little bit cringeworthy when you come into the league. You're a rookie, no pelts on the wall. What do you think of Cam Ward? Obviously, a hell of a talent, a dangerous weapon. Titans fans should be excited, but just overall, what do you think of Cam? Do you think the Broncos are going to be able to handle him?
Yeah, I mean, obviously, the key to that is to get a good pass rush on a rookie quarterback, and that's what the Broncos have. So I'm not totally worried about it. And to his comment, he can say whatever he wants, but it would be nice to have, some compassion. You could say, yeah, it's too bad that he got hurt and had to have surgery. You could say anything, and then you could say, but the season is about making sure I get better or whatever. I mean, there's better ways to go about it.
I agree with you. That's like being with the guy at your cubicle, right? And he's like, "Oh man, I'm having a really hard day. My grandmother passed away. I need to make arrangements." And then your guy at the cubicle being like, "Better her than me." Yeah,
like, exactly.
Like, a little distasteful, and bad juju. How about that? I don't know. I'm not superstitious. I'm kind of stitious, right? So maybe knock on some wood if you're Cam Ward. Hope that you stay healthy forever and that those people around you have compassion. Ralph Bracegirdle, you've been super active in the chat tonight. Thank you so much for all the love over on Facebook. Facebook stars go a long way. Have the Dallas Cowboys been eliminated from the playoffs yet? Not yet, Ralph, and it's because they have a secret weapon in 2025, Tom. They possess an offensive playmaker that they haven't been able to roll out every Sunday, Monday, or Thursday for many seasons. His name, Javonte Williams. Javonte Williams, officially a Dallas Cowboys running back. Where will he end up in the rotation? Broncos v. Cowboys. It's been a little while, Tom. What, 5-year Trevor Siemian days, right? When the Dallas Cowboys came here and Trevor and the Denver Broncos. Was that Vance Joseph? Was Vance Joseph coaching the last time the Broncos and the Cowboys mixed it up here in the Mile High City?
It seems like it's been a long time, but I feel like it was sooner than that, but the time has gone by so fast. But there's been some quite a history for two teams that don't play in the same conference when you think about the Broncos and the Cowboys.
Man, I hate them. I absolutely hate them. Like, I can't stand them. Like Jerry Jones. And by the way, I know Ralph has, big Mark Schlereth guy. Mark Schlereth does one of the best Jerry Jones impersonations I've ever heard in my life. And if you haven't heard it, please, when you meet him out there, because he'll be out there all training camp, breaking it down. And Stink's a man of the people, right? Go ask him. Don't ask him for an autograph. Don't ask him for a photo. He gets those questions all day, every day. Ask him for his best Jerry Jones impersonation, and I bet you too will be surprised. Guys, we are up against it. We are at the 1 hour mark. It has been a fun show. Thomas, Scott, and I rapping with you guys every Wednesday night at 6 p.m. Mountain. The Broncos have officially kicked off training camp. Away we go into Thursday, and the first open to the public practice this Friday, July 25th. A huge happy birthday to my beautiful daughter, Layla. Happy birthday, Layla, who turns 12 tomorrow. Mom and Dad love you. We're very, very proud of you. So a huge mile-high salute to one of Broncos country's own. Tom, another fun show. Football is back in the Mile High City. Expectations couldn't be any higher from one Sean Payton and your franchise quarterback, Bo Chapman Nix. Tom, I can't wait to get back. I'll be out next Wednesday. I can't wait to see what's happening in training camp. I can't wait to get back to you and figure out what's the latest coming out of Broncos HQ. And super, super exciting season ahead, my friend.
Yeah, and I wish I could be out there. I'm not going to be able to make it to training camp this year, but I always have a blast out there. It was always fun hanging out with you and doing the training camp reporting. I'm looking forward to seeing the preseason. I'm looking forward to seeing what kind of improvements have been made. That's what I'm looking for. And I'm looking forward to the season.
Me too, guys. Head on over to milehighhuddle.com. Check out all of our latest. Chad has been very busy today. Chad Jensen over at milehighhuddle.com, just like the rest of our team. Also, give this show a follow over on X. That's at MHI_pod. Please reach out to Tom at Thomas Hall NFL. Head on over to gridironintelligence.com and sign up now. This is a cool, fun resource that we will be using all season long. Any questions, please feel free to reach out to Tom. If you'd like to reach out to me, that's at Luke Patterson LP. Scott Kennedy, that's at Scout Kennedy. Broncos country into the dog days of summer training camp. This is the way.
This is the way.